Jesus calms the storm. Faith over fear. Powerful Bible story for peace in life's storms. Have you ever felt like your life was suddenly hit by a storm? Not just a real storm with wind and rain, but emotional storms. Fear, anxiety, confusion, financial stress, sickness, or uncertainty about the future? In moments like these, it can feel like everything is out of control. But there is a powerful story in the Bible that reminds us of one unshakable truth. Even when the storm is loud, Jesus is still in control. This is the story of Jesus calming the storm, a miracle that teaches us about faith over fear. The storm begins. One day, Jesus said to his disciples, "Let us go over to the other side of the lake." So they left the crowd and got into a boat. Jesus was tired from a long day of teaching, so he lay down in the back of the boat and fell asleep. Everything seemed calm. But suddenly, something changed. The sky darkened. The wind picked up. Waves began to crash violently against the boat. This was no ordinary storm. It was fierce, strong, and terrifying. The disciples, many of them experienced fishermen, were afraid. Even they could not control what was happening. Water began filling the boat. In panic, they shouted, ran around, and tried everything to save themselves. But Jesus was still sleeping. Fear takes over. In desperation, the disciples woke him up and cried out, "Teacher, don't you care that we are going to drown?"
Pause for a moment and think about that question. How many times in life do we ask the same thing? God, don't you see what I'm going through? Don't you care that I'm struggling? Why is this happening to me? The disciples were overwhelmed by fear. They forgot who was in the boat with them. But Jesus was not worried. Jesus stands and speaks peace. Jesus stood up. He did not panic. He did not run. He did not struggle. He simply spoke. He looked at the wind and the waves and said, "Peace, be still." And immediately, something incredible happened. The wind stopped. The waves became calm. The storm disappeared. Everything went silent. Just like that. The same waters that were once violent became peaceful. It was not a gradual change. It was instant. Because when Jesus speaks, even nature obeys. The disciples are amazed. The disciples were stunned. They asked each other, "Who is this? Even the wind and the waves obey him." They had just witnessed something beyond human power. They realized that Jesus was not just a teacher or prophet. He had authority over nature itself. But Jesus had a deeper lesson for them. He turned to them and asked, "Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?" Faith over fear. This is the heart of the story. Jesus was not only calming the storm outside the boat, he was also addressing the storm inside their hearts. Because fear had taken control. And fear makes us forget God's presence. But faith reminds us, even when I cannot see the solution, God is still in control. Even when the storm is loud, God is still speaking peace. Even when I feel like I am sinking, Jesus is still in the boat with me. Lesson for today. Just like the disciples, we all face storms in life.
Some storms look like anxiety about the future, financial pressure, relationship struggles, health challenges, loneliness and emotional pain, uncertainty and fear of failure. And in those moments,
it can feel like Jesus is silent, even sleeping. But silence does not mean absence. Jesus was in the boat the entire time, and that changes everything. Because storms are not stronger than God's presence. When Jesus is in your boat, here is the powerful truth this story teaches. If Jesus is in your boat, your life will not sink. You may shake. You may feel waves crashing around you. You may feel overwhelmed, but you will not be destroyed. Why? Because Jesus has authority over every storm you face. Sometimes he calms the storm instantly. Other times, he calms you in the middle of the storm. Either way, his peace is greater than your fear. Faith in action. Faith is not pretending storms don't exist.
Faith is choosing to trust God in the middle of them. Faith says, I may not understand this, but I trust you. I am afraid, but I believe God is with me. The waves are high, but my Savior is higher. Faith does not remove storms. Faith changes how we stand in them. Jesus still says, "Peace, be still," today. The same Jesus who calmed the storm on the sea is still working today. He still speaks peace into anxious hearts. He still brings calm into chaotic situations. He still strengthens people who feel like they are drowning in life. You may not hear his voice like thunder, but his presence is real. And sometimes, the greatest miracle is not the storm stopping, but your heart stopping its fear. Conclusion. The story of Jesus calming the storm is more than just a miracle. It is a reminder that faith is stronger than fear. Jesus is greater than any storm, and peace is possible even in chaos. So when life feels overwhelming, remember this. You are not alone in the boat. Jesus is with you, and he still speaks. Peace, be still.